Time now is 6 o'clock. Call this meeting to order. Work session of the Board of Education, a meeting which occurs in public. First item is you've seen and do see in front of you the agenda. So we do need a motion to approve, please.
So moved.
So move, Mr. Burgess.
Second.
Second, Mr. Anson. All in favor, please raise your hands. Passes 5-0. Next on our agenda is Superintendent's Report, Dr. Branch.
Yes, sir. I'll be brief. I know we have a long agenda for tonight, but I want to congratulate the class of 2021 once again and thank board members and all those who worked to recognize our outstanding young people at our graduation ceremonies. It was wonderful to be able to hold that and celebrate the challenges that our students overcame, not only this year, but their whole careers. We have talked often that is a kindergarten through 12th grade experience, and there's a lot of work that goes in for parents, students, and our employees to get to that moment. So congratulations to the class of 2021. Congratulations again to our outstanding staff for the challenges that they faced this year and having an outstanding school year. By our count, 180 days with 2 closures, one for weather, which seems to still be wanting to wreak havoc on us a little bit, and one to vaccinate the staff. So thank you, board members, once again for approving that opportunity for our staff. As you know, while we're out for summer, schools really never sleep, and if you drive by our schools on a regular basis, you'll see that. So we have lots of summer camps going on right now, a variety of sports and activities, enrichment opportunities. I think there's a science camp going on as well. So something really taking place almost every day at our schools. So if you drive by and wonder what's happening, feel free to stop by. I'm sure they'd love to see you and welcome you in as we have lots of young people that are doing great things and lots of adults out there supporting the good developmental opportunities for kids. As we are moving on, I saw on Twitter while we just celebrated the class of 2021, I think today Oconee County High School is taking senior pictures for the class of 2022. So if you don't think that we're always planning for next year and moving forward, we certainly are, and I know everyone's excited about that taking place as well. 2 final things. One, I want to celebrate Catherine Kelly. She's a recent graduate at North Oconee and was just named one of only 58 students as a National Merit Scholar. And so Catherine will be studying law at Georgia. And she is one of 0.02% nationally to be recognized for this honor. So quite a prestigious honor for Catherine Kelly. And I know Anissa and the school system put out some information about that today to celebrate her, and look forward to celebrate her as well if she can fit into her schedule now that she's graduating. I know that's a busy time. Last thing I want to say is, as you know, last night we had quite a bit of weather in the area, lost power throughout the county at many of our schools, and I want to thank the operations staff, specifically Steve Breidenball and his team, right from the start of the weather episode around 10. Steve and several staff members worked throughout the night, really to the early morning, to ensure that we had a good understanding of where we stood from a power standpoint, that our campuses were safe, to see if there was any structural issues or damage. Luckily, there was not a lot of damage to our buildings and infrastructure, but there were some downed trees. There were some trees down on power lines, different things. And so just want to acknowledge that hardworking staff and all the behind-the-scenes work that they do to ensure that we were ready today to receive campers, to receive the enrichment opportunities, to do the things that are taking place at our schools, and to do that safely. So I want to thank Steve and that staff for doing that. That concludes Superintendent's report, unless there are questions.
Jason,
Yes, sir.
we had down trees and stuff like that, but no damage to any buildings themselves, as far as you know.
That's right.
Okay.
We are still assessing all that, but no no damage that we're aware of right now. I mean, we'll continue to look for leaks and different things.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is recognitions.
Good evening, board members and Mr. Superintendent. If you'll make your way forward for the first round this month of June recognitions. We have a number of honorees tonight. We also know many may have had summertime conflicts, but we will read off all their names and hope to recognize many of them this evening. First up, the board will recognize the 4A State Literary awardees. This is several students from North Oconee High School. So first we'll bring in their coach, Renee Costigan. All right, and she will keep their certificates, and then we're going to bring in all the students. So if you'll stand up here, we're going to get a group picture. If you'll just stand with, yes. All right, Boys Quartet. Boys Quartet, first place. Cole Joyner, Alex Womack, Micah Kilgore, and Cameron Butrin. Duo Interpretation, again, first place. Cole Joyner and Ellen Corey.
They're not here.
All right, Dramatic Interpretation, first place. Emerson Howard. Argumentative Essay, first place. Jacob Greiner. Girls Solo, second place. Malia Horst. Humorous Interpretation, second place. CJ Mano. Personal Essay, second place. Ellen Corey, not here this evening. And Extemporaneous Speaking, third place, is Hannah Carter. Congratulations to all. Any parents that want to get pictures are welcome to come stand up here as well. All right, here we go. 1, 2, 3. Next we have 3A Georgia Literary Awards for Oconee County High School. Their coaches are Drew Doss, Jean Bennett, and Katie Williams. So if any of their coaches can come on in and collect the certificates, and then we'll call the students in. Rhetorical Essay, first place, Juliana Hayunga. And if you want to just sit there and International Extemporaneous Speaking, first place, Ella Stillen-Souther. Boys Quartet, I believe we have the opportunity to hear them at graduation. Knox Gaines, Andy Hancock, Nathan Powers, and James Williams. Girls Trio, third place, Grace Canavage, Megan Mundy, and Kalani Washington. Kalani Washington also won third place for Personal Essay. And Nathan Powers also won third place for Humorous Interpretation. And for Dramatic Interpretation, third place, Ellie Atkins. All right, please get together for a group picture, and parents, you're welcome to come stand back here. Come on in. Yeah, here we go. There we go. Thank you. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. What do you did that?
All right.
And next, the board will recognize the FFA Poultry Awardees from Oconee County Middle School. Their coach is David Chapman. And here we go for the winners. First place for poultry evaluation, Charlotte Ransom, John Ellis Linder, Nitya Patel, and Jenny Hugh. Congratulations. Let me get a picture. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. All right, congratulations. Now we're excited to recognize the State Science Olympiad awardees from Oconee County Middle School also. One of their coaches, Marley Eversole, is here this evening. And if you'll just come on up and we will present you with the certificates, and now we'll call in the students. If you want to go stand up here with the board members. And this team, they won 3rd place at the state level. William Yin, Jenny Hugh, Jack Wojtkovich, Margaret Callahan, Chelsea Delgado, Haley Glenn, Lauren Myers, George Gow, Aniket Thakak, Luke Wojtkovich, and Alex Huang. Congratulations. Okay, if y'all will, in just a moment, look here for a group picture, and then I'll move out of the way for your parents. All right, here we go. 1, 2, 3. All right, congratulations. If you follow us on social media, you'll remember a week where we kept posting that North Oconee had won state championships, so we will recognize several of those teams this evening. So first up, GHSA 4A girls soccer state champs. Their head coach is Ben Grassimer, assistant coach is Sydney Epting, and Jeff Greenfield. So if we could bring in any of the coaches here.
I got Ben.
Yes, great. We're going to recognize girls soccer. Congratulations. So if you'll come on, we're going to hand you the certificate. You'll just stand up here with the board, and you can hand them now or after the meeting, whatever you prefer. All right, again, first place. Hannah Thompson, Julia Taylor, Morgan Morial, Ava Caldwell, Marin Long, Sydney Waters, Chloe Black. If y'all just wait here, we're going to do a group picture. If you'll come and stand with the board. Thank you, Chloe Black, Carly Lance, Ansley Prell, Ansley Caldwell, Katie O, Madeline Andrews, Ava Applegate, Audrey Thomas, Kenna Kay, Jamie Bryson, Ashlyn Joyner, Hannah Bricks, Grace Maddox, Grace Bryson, Sutton Haynes, and Sophia Bustamante. Congratulations. That would be great. I'm going to take a picture and I'll get out of the way for your parents. All right, here we go. 1, 2, 3. Precious. Okay.
Great job.
Yeah,
Exciting to watch.
very excited. Dr. Brown, did you get them all miniature versions of the cups? Yeah? There you go.
Our tennis teams could not make it, but both our girls and boys tennis teams from North Oconee won the state championship. So we're going to have Dr. Brown come up and accept those certificates. So you'll go on up, and I am still going to read the names for the record. Coaches for girls tennis, Eric Willis and Lorinda Freeland, and Mackenzie Leopold. Oh, they won second place in the state, both of them, runner-up. Mackenzie Leopold, Hannah Lurch, Sydney Hardiman, Emma Bentizin, Kylie Skrybzinski, Melissa Zhang, Copeland Richardson, Kristen Cox, Catherine White, and Samantha Udwedia. And then boys tennis also won second in the state. Coaches Walker Daniel and Lorinda Freeland. And the team was made up of Zan Pierce, Leighton Beasley, Sam Johnson, Krish Patel, Ben Rogers, Saket Chaluvati, Max DeBow, Shane Carson, Tiago DeCuna, and Ben Pierce. What a job well done. And thank you for the pronunciation. There you go. 1, 2, 3. And I don't see Dr. Brown's mom here, so I think that's the end of the pictures.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations.
And that concludes this evening's recognition.
Congratulations, Coach.
Thank you, I worked hard.
Oh, man.
Teaching and learning report.
Yes, sir. Good evening, board members, superintendent. The June Teaching and Learning Report contains 3 items of information and 1 action item for the June 14th Board of Education meeting. And the first item of information is an update on the learning recovery that is taking place. As I shared with you in May, we are offering summer learning for students to support learning disruptions due to COVID-19. And so we did get geared up last week, and we started with our middle and high school programs, and this morning we kicked off our elementary program. Very excited to share that at the elementary level we have 151 students participating in the in-person support, and we have 132 students participating in the virtual support. At the middle school level, we have 61 students that are participating now in the in-person program, but you may recall I also shared with you at the May meeting that we would be providing an in-person summer camp for rising 6th graders, as well as students that are transferring from another district or that have been distance learning students. So we're looking forward to that opportunity as well. And currently, our high schools have 52 students that are participating in the summer learning program. So it's all had a smooth start, and things are going very well. We also do have the Summer Slam program for both of our high schools that I shared with you that will take place July 21st and 22nd. Similar to what I shared about the middle school, it'll be rising 9th graders and also students that were distance learners or students that are moving in from another county. And the second item of information that I have to share this evening is Board Regulation IFBCR media programs. And just as a reminder, we do a comprehensive review of board regulations and board policies on an annual basis. Typically this month of June is when we bring forward any recommended updates or changes. And as you know, the regulations do not require board action, but we do provide those updates to you to keep you informed on any adjustments. And so this particular regulation has very minimal changes, but just to highlight a couple of them, we did update the building level media committee to include a minimum of 3 parent or community representatives. We also specified that the committee was to meet at least once a year or as needed. And we also changed the replacement cost of books to the original cost of the book. The third item of information is also a board regulation, and this particular regulation is IHFR. You may recall in December, I brought forward this regulation with a change to reflect the action of the State Board of Education, changing the required 20% weight of the end of course test and reducing that weight to 0.01. And that was to take place and was effective for this particular school year. And so we have gone in and made those revisions to adjust it back to the actual 20% weight that is required in state law. The action item for the June 14th regular session is Board Policy IFBG, Internet Acceptable Use. And again, this policy has been updated, and a lot of it is just semantics and the structuring of the policy to make it flow better. And it also, we wanted it to be a little bit more comprehensive and understandable due to the number of devices and the number of digital curriculum that we are using. We did submit the revisions to this policy to the Georgia School Board Association. They did a comprehensive review and supported the changes. Just a couple of things to point out, highlights. We clarified the educating on cyberbullying, appropriate online behavior, social networking, and that is required by the Child Internet Protection Act, which is a federal law. We also clarified that technology resources are for educational purposes and other purposes are prohibited. And then also clarifying our internet screening system to block inappropriate websites, and again, that is required by federal law. And so with this particular policy, the superintendent's recommendation would be for the board to approve placing this policy on the table at the June 14th regular session to be posted for public review and comment until the next regular session. And that concludes the report unless there are any questions.
On the grading regulation, grading and reporting regulation, does this change just take us back to what we were doing before the board change, before the state change of lowering the weight of
Yes,
the
sir.
import? So this is just going back to where
That's
we were a
correct.
year ago? Okay.
That's good.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Next is operations for October. You're doing well.
Yes, sir, doing good. Good evening, everybody. The Oconee County Schools Operation Division June Board of Education report contains 6 items of information and 2 action items for the June 14th, 2021 Board of Education meeting. The first item of information is our energy report. Our April energy report shows an on-trend decrease in usage over March. I'd like to continue to thank Mr. Steve Bradbaugh and his team for controlling that for us. The second item of information is our lead custodian meeting. The May lead custodian meeting was held May 12th and was hosted by the team at High Shoals Elementary School. Our custodial teams are to be commended for the rigorous work ensuring that our schools are clean for health. Our third item of information is our pest control RFP, and a request for proposal was posted on our website on April 29th for pest control services, and proposals were due on June 1st. Our fourth item of information is our bus ridership. The attachment is here, and Mr. Peterson has been tracking our ridership on a weekly basis, comparing the numbers of riders this year to the number of riders last year. And at the end of the school year, the current ridership was down 18.23% from last year. Our fifth item of information is our bus RFP, and that request for proposal was posted on May 12th Proposals were due on May 26th. Our sixth item of information is our construction update. A requested proposal was posted on the OCS website on April 6th for a 10 classroom addition at Collin Ferry Elementary School. Proposals were due May 6th. 7 proposals were received and were reviewed by committee using the following criteria. The first factor was our project approach. Our second factor was experience of the proposed project team. Our third factor was experience of proposed subcontractors. Fourth factor was the offer overview. And finally, the fifth factor was cost, and that was weighted the most. 5 of the 7 qualified proposers met the minimum threshold for cost evaluation. The 5 proposers are Armacher Brothers, Bowen and Watson Construction, Grail Construction, Kevin Price Construction, and RK Ready Construction. Any questions about the item of information? Yes, ma'am.
Has Amaker ever done construction for us in the past?
Yes, ma'am. Armacher built up Creek Elementary.
Oh, good to know.
Yes, ma'am.
One more question.
Yes, ma'am.
How many buses are we planning on buying?
We're gonna get 4 bond buses, and that's in addition to the 2 we've already got, which will close out this year for 6.
Okay,
And we'll bring that back in July.
good. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir. Mr.
Right, all of these bids were pretty close to each other. I'm trying to remember what our, yes, were these all within, pretty close to the range of the estimates we were working from, that you guys put together months and months ago?
Yes, sir. It was a little higher due to the inflation, but it was close.
Close.
Yes, sir. So the next one in our actual action item, if I go to that, I'll tell you what the actual winning one was, and then I can tell you the difference if you'd like to know.
Yeah, go ahead, because I had one question about, well, let me ask you this, because you may be going to cover it.
Yes, sir.
Did we pretty much get in the Amacher bid, did we get everything that we needed, that we were planning to have done at the schools? This includes everything that we were trying to get as part of this project.
Yes, sir.
Were you able to add anything to it that was an add-on later on that we were hoping to get?
No, sir. We got everything that we needed.
But so it covered everything.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It was the same bid. We put out specifications and everything you have to put.
But we didn't have to alternately deduct anything out
No, sir.
to stay within sort of the framework of the.
No, sir. They'll do their own deductions, the day of bid sometimes, but we didn't have to take anything out.
Okay, very good.
Yes, sir. We have 2 action items, the first being Collin Ferry Elementary School addition. And it's the superintendent's recommendations for the Board of Education to approve Armacher Brothers Construction Company for the 10 classroom addition at Collin Ferry for a proposal cost of $3,135,000. This project will be funded by a combination of ELOS 6 and general fund. And that's where I was going to tell you if there's any questions about the actual proposals, I could ask them. I can answer now, Mr. Tim.
No, not necessarily.
Good, okay. Our second action item is surplus vehicles, and it's the superintendent's recommendation for the Board of Education to approve the following surplus vehicles. As you can see there, we have 4 old buses that will be surplus.
Oh,
The oldest one's 1995, Mr. Tom.
ooh,
Yes, sir. We've been parting that one out for a while.
well, I'm glad.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
They were good new ones too.
Yes, sir. We've been very, very blessed and thankful. That's all we have for operations report unless there's any other questions. Yes, sir. Yeah.
Right, when you bring this back next week for final approval, can you
Yes.
bring it back as a total project cost?
Absolutely.
I assume is this the total project?
No, sir. I can tell you, the total project cost is $3.6 million. This is 3.1. So there's other stuff in
Okay,
there.
so.
And that's what you were talking about a minute ago.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
well, I know there's, I know we have, in a normal process, we would have, this is a contractor's bid, we've got other things that may be on top of this,
Yes.
contingencies, whatever.
Correct.
So what I would ask next week is when you bring this back, bring it for total approval,
Yes, sir.
bring it back in the form of a total project budget.
Yes, sir.
For the whole thing.
Yes, sir. We
Okay.
can handle that.
Very good, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Also, could you kind of bring a blueprint or a diagram of where the new wing is gonna be?
Yes, ma'am.
It's been a while.
It's on that very far south
I know it's
end.
near what I call the kindergarten hall, but
Yes, ma'am, right to the other side of it. It'll run parallel with the kindergarten hall, but I'll bring the schematic next week.
thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Thompson. Y'all have a
Thank
good day.
you.
I appreciate it. And that, you got to speak a little longer.
Yes, sir. How about all that?
All right? You need to earn that. Dr. Whitmire, Human Resources.
Good evening, everyone. Human Resources has one item of information this evening and then 2 action items for next week's regular session. Information item is a change to a regulation. As Dr. Buck mentioned a minute ago, we do from time to time have changes to regulations attached to policies. I'll bring this to you for your information. Just some minor changes to the regulation that is attached to board policy GARH, which is employee leaves and absences. More about that policy in just a minute. Some minor changes that have really taken place to match our practice with policy way back when this regulation, way back when this regulation was created, leave could only be taken in increments of half a day. And so there was no way, for example, to take a quarter of a day or 3/4 of a day. So we made some minor changes in that regulation to match with our technological processes with leave. The first action item for next week is some new board action that we're going to recommend through the superintendent next week, based on a bill passed this past session by the Georgia General Assembly. This was House Bill 86, signed into law by Governor Kemp. And it is board policy that we're proposing GBIA, Teacher Evaluation Appeals. You'll see it all red, all underlined, because it is brand new, and this law, effective July 1st, allows teachers that have accepted their 4th consecutive full-time contract of employment with the school district or subsequent. It affords them the opportunity to appeal their performance evaluation in the event that that evaluation is unsatisfactory or ineffective. And the policy lays out the process that would take place in the event that happens. The next action item goes back to board policy GARH, employee leaves and absences. And this policy, board members, I will tell you, is, as you'll probably recall, the leave policy is extensive. It is fairly detailed, complicated, you might say. We have another leave policy that is solely dedicated to the Federal Family and Medical Leave Act, or FMLA. That is board policy GBRIG. That is not the policy that we're bringing before you for proposed revision. It is the, you might say, the regular leave policy, GARH. And this recommendation is also based on action taken by the General Assembly that I'll get into here in just a minute. I would tell you as a preface, board members, that our leave policy, I'm proud to say, is very generous. It is an extensive policy. It's great for employees. We're proud and thankful for it. And the history of this policy involves some changes here and there. To go back a ways, the action taken by the General Assembly has to do with parental leave. And what I would tell you is that we already have forms of parental leave in our existing policy. And so what we're bringing before you is a change that incorporates what's going to be required by Georgia law, effective July 1st. And we've gone through and made sure that if there are any redundancies with current provisions in our policy or anything that needs to be updated in terms of wording to make it a little more clear, we've taken a look at that. But the gist of the Georgia Paid Parental Leave Law, which again just passed this past session, House Bill 146, provides for paid parental leave for full-time employees. There are certain requirements with that. You have to have been employed for at least 6 months. There's some other attendant requirements. The gist of it is that if you are eligible, you are able to access up to 120 hours. It's that specific. That equates to 3 weeks, but you're allowed to take that leave in increments based on hours. It is paid parental leave in the event of any one of 3 qualifying events. That could either be the birth of a child, it could be adoption, or it could be foster care. That leave is paid leave that does not come out of the employee's sick leave balance. It is simply paid leave. It can be taken incrementally based on the law, and it can run, as it will run, concurrently with any federal sick leave law, or I should say federal leave law, such as FMLA. We've got requirements in there that are based on the law as well as the procedure that you'll see for the incorporation of this new statute. We'll be making those recommendations again for those 2 action items. The superintendent will recommend that you place it on the table next week. I would tell you that, as Dr. Buck mentioned earlier with those policies, that we have run these policies through the Georgia School Boards Association and met with their approval on the changes that we recommend. Unless there are any questions, that will conclude what I have for this evening.
I had one. If someone was expecting a baby and wanted to take maternity leave, would this parental leave, would they automatically get the 3 weeks first and then take their accrued sick leave? How does that work? I'm just trying to figure this out in my head.
I will tell you, I'm going to sound like a lawyer here, Ms. Arthur, but it depends.
Oh.
Because literally, what I would tell you about leave, and I'm not exaggerating this one iota, it is literally different with every situation because it depends on, for example, if that employee has sick leave, if they are eligible for FMLA leave. We have different provisions in the policy, but the gist of it is that they would, if they take FMLA leave, that begins as unpaid leave under the law and policy, but you're required to substitute sick leave if you have it. They may also take paid parental leave, but it would be 2 different things. They can take their sick leave and their paid parental leave, if that makes sense, if I'm answering the question.
Okay, so they can add them up.
They can.
You should save them sick days. That's what I'm trying to figure out in my head.
And that, again, it depends on if they were eligible for FMLA and they had sick days, they would have to substitute their sick leave
Okay.
days. If they're not eligible for FMLA, they may not. They may choose to say, you know what, I want to save those because I can take these 3 weeks depending on what need they may have. I will also tell you that spouses, if in the event you had 2 spouses that work for the district, they are both eligible for this paid parental leave. So in essence, they could stack that leave. If my wife and I were teaching at the same school and we adopted a child, she might take 3 weeks and then I might take 3 weeks. That's allowed under the law.
So really, they got more options now than what they've had in the past.
They do. They do, and that you'll see in our revisions. We've gone back and looked at other things to make sure that it's not redundant and that we don't go beyond what we already were doing in terms of the total amount of leave that can be taken.
I think it's good.
Oh, I do too.
Just have
So-
baby staff just recently, they gave alternate 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Gracious, more than now.
I don't know if we have anything about board member leave.
Grandpa, we don't have grandparents.
Let's stop
Yeah.
there.
It was Representative Gaines that introduced this, so you might want to touch base with him on the grandparent.
I'll see his parents next week.
So if an employee a full-time employee that's worked here 6 months, if for some reason they didn't have sick leave, they'd automatically at least get 3
That's
weeks off.
exactly right. That's
what you're
exactly
telling me.
right.
Okay, very good.
Exactly right.
How much sick leave can an employee accrue?
It's 1.25 days per month for those that are eligible to earn sick leave. Correct me, did I say that correctly, Sarah? I believe I want to make sure.
And it doesn't matter if it goes over however many days, it will all count toward retirement eventually.
Within the teacher's retirement system, that's correct. And employees earn that. I will tell you to go back to the paid parental leave, not to put too fine a point on it. This is not leave that accrues.
Right.
If for whatever reason I don't use it, I can't say, well, I'm taking it next year, or I'm gonna take it and get retirement credit for it or anything like that. It's just paid parental leave. Yes, sir.
There's also a proposed change here to the annual leave section, correct? Can you talk a bit about what the rationale for that proposed change is?
If you're referring to the payout of annual leave,
Yeah, I mean, I guess currently annual leave is earned, but if you leave the district, we don't pay that out as a cash benefit, correct?
we do, and that's the case, Tim, where we are taking a long-standing practice and matching policies. That has,
Okay, so
that's correct.
our practice, not our policy, but you're saying our practice has been to pay for annual leave once an employee leaves?
If they have a positive balance at the time that they separate.
Do they get-
Yes.
But that was not in our policy. We were just doing that absent of a policy ability to authorize that.
That has been practiced as long as I've been employed here and going back, I believe, before then, so
Did that occur when an employee left here and went to work for another school district, or did they just take that leave balance with them when they went to another school district?
they can't transfer vacation leave or annual leave to another district. They can transfer sick leave
Okay.
under the state health benefit
So
plan.
if an employee left here and went to another school district, we in the past have been paying for their leave balance, and then they would just start over with a accrued leave balance at the new school where they work.
Assuming they earn annual leave at that new school district, yes, they would be paid out for their annual leave here and then.
What's the significance of the 7.5 days carry forward? Is that the maximum that an employee can end the year with and carry into the next year?
That is the maximum that as of, and I'll defer to our illustrious CFO if I say it wrong, Sarah Anna, because this is administered through business services, but if you, at the end of the fiscal year, you cannot carry over any more than 7.5 days.
Okay. So you earn, make sure I understand this correct, so you earn on a monthly basis annual leave
Correct,
throughout the year.
correct.
At the end of the year, if you had 7.5 hours of leave that you had not taken, you could carry that over
That's correct,
and start the year with that and then continue to accrue.
correct.
But at the end of that next year, let's say you took no leave, you had 20 hours, you'd be dropped back down to the 7.5, and that's what you would start.
That's correct. You would lose anything beyond that 7.5.
So, as a practical matter, are we only paying out leave, the balance of leave that you can leave here with at any one time at the end of the fiscal year would be 7.5 hours that you would be paid for, or is it?
I don't see how logically it could be any more than that. And again, Sarah, jump in if there's anything.
I mean, I guess-
missing
Go ahead. I guess where I'm trying to go with this is, the maximum that, I guess my basic question is, the maximum that someone could be paid, and apparently has been paid when they left here, was roughly the 7.5 hours that they would carry forward from one year to the next.
They can't accrue any more than that to take to the next year. So I guess it would depend on at what point of the year they retire.
Theoretically, they could have been here 6 months and accrued 6 hours.
Correct.
And had 7 to carry forward, so maybe they got paid for 13 hours of leave when they left.
Correct.
Okay.
Or they retired in February, and it's not necessarily at the end of the fiscal year.
Okay. But it's not a situation where someone would have accrued tens and tens of hours of leave over the course of 10 or 15 years and then be paid out.
That's
We're talking 7 to 15 hours of leave, sort of as the upper end of what someone has been paid for in annual leave when they left, and that's what this policy now makes part of our policy as opposed to just practice.
Correct.
Okay.
Any other questions?
You got another?
Yeah, one other question back to the evaluation regulation. I understand what you said about what this now puts in place. What happened prior to this if a teacher was given an unsatisfactory evaluation? What was the process before this law?
You could always, when I say always, prior practice over the last several years is that an employee could grieve or appeal, if you procedural deficiency. If I'm a teacher and I was supposed to be evaluated by a certain date and I wasn't, and the procedure wasn't followed, I could appeal that. I did not have the right to appeal the substance of the evaluation. So this is new. This is something that if you meet the qualifications as a teacher, you can then appeal and go through that process.
So this creates a new appeals
It does.
process for an unsatisfactory evaluation that was not available to them before.
That is correct.
Okay, all right, gotcha.
And I read somewhere in there, how many people are on that appeals committee?
Well, it would start with the employee's principal, and then from there, if that does not satisfy the matter, we then go to designees at the central office level that the superintendent will designate. It's a fairly tight process.
Anybody else? No. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. The Student Services Report contains 5 items of information tonight and 4 action items for the June 14th Board of Education meeting. The first item of information is our school nutrition participation. You'll see on that document that we were up roughly 2.5% when compared to May the previous year. The second item of information is our COVID-19 update. The Georgia Department of Public Health has reported that in all of Oconee County, we've had 6 positive cases in the last 10 days. Our 7-day moving average is 0.4% currently. Given that information, along with the fact that the population of our campuses has been reduced drastically since summer vacation or our summer operation, effective June 1st, we informed staff that we would no longer be requiring anyone to wear a mask on any of our Oconee County schools properties at this point in time. We will continue to communicate with the Department of Public Health and report positive cases to them as requested. The third item of information is our high school athletic accomplishments. I want to start off by just thanking you all for your continued support of all of our extracurricular activities, and particularly for this year for empowering our staff to really find a way to make this happen for our kids. You've got 3 attachments to the agenda tonight that it shows you examples of these accomplishments. The first document is a list of team accomplishments earned by each school. The second is a list of state and region accomplishments by school. And the third is the one before you, a summary of state and individual awards by school. Listed in these 3 documents, you will find that our students earned 11 region or area championships, 21 region or area second place finishes, 5 state championships, and 7 state second place finishes. That is absolutely incredible. And on top of all that, we've had students that earned 13 individual state championships at their school. And as you saw earlier this evening, there's many other, probably too many to name here tonight, but I want to commend our students and our athletic staffs and all of the staff in our school for giving our kids an opportunity this year to be able to participate and do the things that they love outside of the school day, which I believe has enriched our academics and their overall experience at our school. The fourth item of information is the student code of conduct. The code of conduct does require board approval. However, I have it listed as an item of information here because we're not making any amendments since the last time the code of conduct was approved. And the fifth item of information is our school nutrition program bids. We are part of the Georgia Education Cooperative, and they are currently collecting bids for the next school year. We're anticipating getting those all in the next couple of weeks, and I'll bring that before you for approval in July. And 4 action items are all field trips. We've got an Oconee County High School field trip for their cross-country team. That will be July 11th through the 16th. We've got a field trip for boys basketball at Oconee County High School. They'll be going to Birmingham, Alabama on June 24th. We've got a North Oconee field trip for girls basketball to Wofford, South Carolina. They'll be going on June 17th. And finally, we've got a North Oconee golf field trip to Pinehurst, North Carolina. They'll be going on June 22nd. The superintendent's recommendation will be to approve those as presented. And that is all I have for tonight, unless there's any question. Yes, sir.
Is it too late to sign up as a community coach for the trip to Pinehurst?
I believe it is.
I did note that there are 7 chaperones for 10 students. So a lot of interest in that trip.
Well, I understand Pinehurst is a dangerous place.
Excuse me.
I have a question. Under both high schools, it said 25 sports qualified for state playoffs. How many sports do we have at each high school?
Oh gosh, I don't have that number off the top of my head. But there's a lot.
When you have a chance,
I'll
let us know, because that's outstanding.
Well, since 90, I came here in 91. You were here longer than me, I think. But this is the best I've ever seen.
I think so, too.
Superlatives and athletics side.
I think so
And
too.
I have a lot of people talk to me about it. I just never realized the depth of it got here. And that's a big accomplishment for the students
Yeah, it's been
and their coaches.
a special year for our students and our staff.
Makes a lot of people proud.
The other thing I'd like to say is I'd like to publicly thank you and your staff for all the work you did with COVID-19 to keep us open 180 days.
Yes, ma'am, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sir, I'm sorry.
So Business Services has 3 items of information for this evening's board meeting and one action item for the June 14th board meeting. The first item of information is the final review of the FY22 tentative budget. The budget includes estimated revenues of $86.4 million and estimated expenditures of $86.6 million. It's based on a millage rate of 16.5 mils, which is the same as last year. The budget includes 7 new personnel positions for system growth and needs. It includes a retention supplement for returning regular staff and $1 per hour increase for custodial, bus driver, and school nutrition staff. And it also includes for the first time technology purchases that support student growth. The second item of information is the budget calendar. The budget process is on target. The budget was advertised in the Oconee Enterprise on May 13th, and it has also been posted on our website. Budget hearings were held on May 18th and June the 7th. The Tax Digest dates are tentative, and when we receive the Tax Digest information for the Tax Commissioner, we will finalize those dates for any required hearings and the final adoption of the millage rate. So Business Services does have one action item for the June 14th board meeting, and we ask that the superintendent recommend approval at that time to adopt the final FY22 budget and the tentative millage rate on June the 14th. And the third item of information is the request by the board for the salary comparison for bus drivers, school nutrition personnel, and custodians. The information that you have before you is for the districts in our RESA that did respond to our request. There are 13 districts in our RESA, and we do have 11 counties represented in this comparison. You've got a comparison for each group, and the information is based on the FY21 pay scales. So I want to call your attention to the bottom left-hand corner is the Oconee County Schools ranking for each group. Which one would you like to know? How about bus driver? Okay. So board members, you can see this ranking is based on years of experience and by the dollar per hour before the increase and after the dollar per hour increase. So you can see that a first year bus driver, our ranking is 6. And so that means 5 systems are paid more than, bus drivers are paid more than hours. And then after the dollar per hour, our ranking changes to 3. And you can see how this ranking changes based on years of experience. If you take a look at the custodian, you can see that a first-year custodian, before the $1 per hour increase, our ranking is 4, and after the $1 per hour increase, our ranking is 5. And you can see how that changes also based on years of experience. And the last one, school nutrition. You can see that our first-year school nutrition worker, before the $1 per hour, our system is ranked 11, and after the $1 per hour, 3. And then you can see how that also changes based on years of experience. And so that concludes my report, unless there's any questions.
I don't have a question, but you've got a question?
Yes, bus drivers, how many hours do they work per week?
4, say so 4.
4 hours per week or 4 per day?
Per day.
Okay. Sorry. How about cafeteria workers?
There's vary, some are 4, some are 5, it just depends on the duties.
And custodians are 40 hours?
Yes, they're 8 hours a day, so they're
Yeah.
40 hours a day.
Yeah, okay, yeah, full time. Thank you, I didn't mean to throw you.
I appreciate you taking the time to do that. 'Cause
Yes, thank you.
I did think that we needed to do a study of it. And I see it needs a little more work. And I don't know that it can happen all in 1 year, but maybe over a couple of years. And the only reason I didn't vote for that was I thought we needed to look at the study. Once I see the study, yeah, I would vote for it. But that's, like I said, I support it. And that's all I wanted to do was see the study. And so we got some work to do there. I don't think there's any doubt. I don't think it's a tremendous amount of work, but I saw some disparity there, maybe just a little bit. So I think that's something we can work on. You don't get to do that, but someone else will. And I think it's something that we can look at over the next few years because things get tight. We need to do all we can. So thank you for bringing that forward. I
You're welcome.
appreciate it. It was enlightening for me.
You're welcome.
One question. Based on what you've heard so far, do you still think we'll be able to digest update July 19th?
What I've heard so far, I hope to get it for you.
Oh, okay. So
But
maybe
we'll
early.
see.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, thank you. Appreciate it.
As you can tell, it was just a wonderful last month in our school system, capped off with our 2 graduation ceremonies, which could not have happened on more beautiful evenings, especially as evidenced by that sunset we all got to see at the North graduation. Thank you for your patience. My communications report has 2 items of information and 1 action item for the June 14th board meeting. That was the first item of information. The second item of information is Board Regulation BCBI. This is public participation in board meetings, and it's been aligned with Senate Bill 68. And this goes along with the action item for the June 14th board meeting, which is Board Policy BCBI, public participation in board meetings. It has also been updated to align with Senate Bill 68. So what are some of the highlights of these changes? Senate Bill 68 mandated by law for the first time ever the right for the public to speak at board meetings, specifically to require local boards to provide a public comment period during every regular monthly meeting. We have long had that practice in Oconee County Schools, so no change required there. The new bill also states that individuals are not required to sign up more than 24 hours in advance of a board meeting. Therefore, our new policy and the associated regulation change our practice to where individuals will have 3 minutes to speak and may sign up until 5 minutes before the regular board meeting begins. And that concludes my report unless there are any questions. All right, thank you. That concludes the communications report.
Move on, we do have a need for executive session this evening, so we need a motion to approve.
I make a motion the board adjourn to executive session to discuss or deliberate upon personnel matters as described on an affidavit that will be attached to the minutes.
Ms. Argos made that motion, we have a second. Second, Ms. Parrish, all in favor, please raise your hand. That passes 5-0 for adjourn to executive session.